Hello my Dorklings, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you how I made this thumbnail. Oh, and other thumbnails too.
Alright my Dorklings, so the first thing you're going to want to do is get a program called Paint.net, and it's D-O-T, it's not a period. If you go to Google, make sure that it is getpaint.net as the first one. Don't click on any spam or anything. Click download. It will bring you to this page. Again, if you click the link in the description, it should take you to this as well. You can click on download right here. If that does not work, you can also do mirrorhost.pdn. Oh, and apparently you can also get it in the Microsoft Store. That's new. So once you download that, go ahead and open up the exe file, install it, and then open the program once it's done installing, and it should look something like this. I'm going to make two changes to mine. It's just visuals only. I'm going to get rid of this history tab here, and then replace it with layers, and I'm going to turn on ruler. This is just my personal preference. It's optional. You guys do not have to do that step. That's just what I am used to seeing, so that's what I'm going to do. So for step number 2, you can either drag and drop the image that you want to edit here, or you can do File, Open, and then look for the image that you want. For me, it is thumbnail. So open up, and boom, look at that. We have our photo. So I'm going to resize this because this is in 4K, and for thumbnails, you want 1920 by 1080. I'm not sure if they've updated it on YouTube, but yeah, I always go with 1920 by 1080. First of all, what you want to do is come down here in the bottom right hand corner, right above where my cursor is, 3840 by 2160. So 3840 by 2160. We want this to be 1920 by 1080. Let's come up here under image, and then let's do resize, or you could do Control R, or I think Command R if this is on Mac. And we want it to be 1920 wide by 1080. Enter. There we go. Thumbnail is now resized, and we can work on it. Now that we have it resized, the first thing that I like to do, as you can see, we have the background here. It's a little cluttered just because of our living situation currently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a duplicate of myself, which you can use the rectangle select or the lasso select. I think I'm going to go with the lasso select. Basically, it just allows you to, as long as you're clicking and holding, you can draw around an object and it will follow that path basically. Now that I have myself selected, I'm going to do Control C to copy, or you can come up to Edit and Copy. So now that I have a copy of myself, I'm going to go to my layers here, click on this, which is add a new layer. And then I'm either going to do Control V, or again, you can go up here to Edit and then Paste. So I know it doesn't look like anything is really different, but if we come back up to our Layers tab here, and where it says Background, if we uncheck this, now we can see what we have pasted. Also, I should mention, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, I do the tedious way to do this, and it's also the easiest for beginners, so that's what we're going to do here. Obviously, if you had Photoshop, something else like that, you would be able to do this a lot quicker than what I am doing, but I have no experience in Photoshop, so that's why we're doing this way. So we're going to click on our erase tool, and I'm just going to erase around me. It doesn't have to be perfect, but obviously the closer I can get to, like, say, my arm or my shirt, the better. I also want to take a second here, if you guys need to change your brush width up here, like how big the eraser tool, or say if you're going to draw, how big the pixels are when you draw, you want to click on whatever tool that you want. So for example, our eraser, and at the top here, this is brush width. You can either click the plus button and do it one at a time, or the minus button and lower it one at a time, or you can just pick a random one that's so big it's going to erase everything. Or you could even hover over like this and scroll with the mouse wheel to pick whatever size you want. So that's helpful. The only thing to keep in mind whenever you do this, by default, you want to kind of go back a little bit, because see, if I keep clicking constantly, I'm starting to delete part of my hat here, even though it's not anywhere near my hat. So just keep that in mind. And the more times you click, the more times you're going to have to undo. Alright, now that I have my background cut out, and we have just me, I want to show you guys again. I cut out the background on layer 2 here, which is me. So whenever I do this and check it back, we'll have our background back. And if I uncheck me on the top layer, I'm still there and it's not that big of a deal. Now it might look like I did all that for nothing, but the reason I did this is so I could blur my background and have me more in focus. Because again, I ended up taking this screenshot from my video itself rather than just taking a photo. So the next step that I'm going to do is on layer 2, which is me, which you can actually rename. Just gonna select it so it is light blue. Click on this, the properties. And then where it says layer 2, change it. So I'm going to change it to me. There we go. So that way I don't get confused as to which one is what. All right, so now that we have me and the background separated, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on background here. Again, I'm doing all of this because it's too cluttered and I kind of want to like make sure people don't see exactly what's going on in the background. Or more so, I want to take their focus off the background. I want to make the subject about me and the thumbnail title. So again, that's why I'm doing all this. So select background, it will be highlighted in light blue. Come up to effects here, go to blurs, and then you can choose any blur that you want, but I'm gonna go with Gaussian blur. It's the most popular, it's typically the most straightforward to work with, so click it. And then as you guys can see, I think it starts off default 2. But you can see it's kind of mildly blurry in comparison to myself, the me layer here. So you can use the slider, you can hover over and use the mouse wheel, or you can move up and down with the mouse clicks, or you can even type in if you know a specific number that you want to type in. So let's go with 0 for now, just to see. Again, no blur. And I'm going to just kind of play around and mess with it until it's something I like. 5 seems good because this is kind of in focus. This is out of focus back here over on my left side. So I think I'm actually going to stick with 5, or let's go with 6. I'm going to go with 6 because I like even numbers. That's just a me thing. And there we go. Cool. So first part of the thumbnail done. Nice. For the next step, what I like to do is I'll kind of change the contrast and brightness or whatever of both the blurred background and me. And I try and make it so the background is slightly more darker than it should be. So that way I will stand out a little bit more. So in order to do that, make sure that the background is highlighted light blue like this. And come up to adjustments and then go to brightness and contrast. And it's the same thing as before, sliders, numbers, arrows, however you'd like to do it. And again, just mess around with these sliders until you get something that you like. I like to go down a couple clicks on the brightness, and then contrast. I mean, we could mess with that as well, but I try not to mess with contrast too much unless I bump it down or up like 2 notches, not 10. And then for me layer, we're going to do the same thing. Click on me, go to adjustments, then do brightness and contrast. So I'm liking the way it's turning out so far. So the next step, I'm going to come up here, make sure me is highlighted still. I'm going to click new layer. The reason that you have me selected and then new layer is because it will put a new layer above the me and background. So for example, if I had background selected and said new layer, it would put it in between them, and I do not want that. And in the event that happens, you can either drag and drop to move the layers however you'd like, or you can click these arrows here. So layer 3 is highlighted, we want it to go above, boop, just like that. I'm going to double click on layer 3 here, and I'm going to rename it to text 1. Now with our text tool selected, we're going to click over here and we're going to put in basically whatever we want it to say in our thumbnail. So for me, that's going to be how I made this thumbnail. I don't like it being straight across like that, so I am going to use the arrow keys and go back before thumbnail. I'm going to hold shift and hit enter so it goes down 1. And as you can see, it's kind of off-centered here. So I want that centered. So up here, where you can see center align, click on that. And there you go. Now that looks a lot better. And my CDO is satisfied. As long as you have it where there's this little cursor selected so you can keep typing. You can come up here and change your font height, all of this stuff, make it bold, italicized, etc. So what I'm going to do is I am going to scroll through the fonts here. Basically just going to pick out one that I think looks good. Kind of like how that one looks. Again, you can change the size of this. I usually try to do that first. You can grab it with the little arrow here, boop, and pull it over. And also, before I click off of here, I want to change the font color. So I'm gonna come down here and click on white, and we're gonna leave it right here. So we're gonna click the escape key, or you can select a different tool. But I'm gonna click escape, so that way we deselect it. But because we're on the text one layer, we can manipulate it however we would like. So I'm gonna click the rectangle select tool, highlight over it, and then I'm gonna click on this little arrow right here. It's move selected pixels. So now, as you can see, I can move it wherever I choose. So if I wanted to further the meme, put it over my face, I could do it there. But what I want to do is I kind of want to rotate it. So come up in this corner, or any of the corners for that matter. If you see the little bent arrow, it means you're able to rotate it however you'd like. And there we go. It's actually looking pretty good. This looks like a standard thumbnail to me as far as I'm concerned. This is how I edit thumbnails. So again, I'm going to do the rectangle select tool. I'm going to select how I made this thumbnail here, and I'm going to copy it. So again, Control C, and then I'm going to make a new layer. We're going to make it text 2, or actually let's make it text top so I know. And then I'm going to do Control V and paste it. And then I'm going to use the arrows while it's still selected like this on the text top. And I'm going to go over 2, 1, 2, and up 2, 1, 2. Come over here to the paint bucket tool, click it, and then I'm going to change the color to, say, black. I'm going to zoom in just so I don't make a mistake. I'm going to hold down the shift key and then click. There we go. And now you can see that on the top text, everything is black instead of white. This is an example of me like messing up or making a mistake. I realized that I want the white text on top and black text on bottom to create a shadow effect. So you can just kind of rearrange them like this. Or you can go the extra mile, click on text 1, shift, and then click. And now the white text becomes black. And then you can go to top text and change it to white. So top text, shift, right click, because I have the secondary color is white. And there we go. So now I have like a little homemade drop shadow. Then I'm just going to click on the move selected pixels tool here, and I'm just going to kind of move it so it's like that. Cool. How I made this thumbnail. Look at that. Looking even better. So what I can do now to further make it look like a drop shadow and make it like translucent or transparent, if you click on text 1 and come down to the little wrench here, click on properties, you can go to the opacity and you can drop it. So now it's gone, now it's there. But if you kind of put it like, say, in the middle, something like that, it makes it transparent. You can see like the clock, for example. That's why it's darker there, is because the clock is there. So I'm going to leave it like this. And then something that I've recently been doing is I will select the top text here, the white text. We're going to copy it. I'm going to make a new layer, paste it, and then I'm going to go the opposite direction of whatever the shadow is. So the shadow technically is down 2 and left 2. So I'm going to go right 2 and up 2. And then I'm going to pick a different color. Usually I kind of go based on the background. I don't know color theory. I just kind of go with whatever I think looks nice. Yeah, so something like that. So it kind of gives it like an extra layer of depth, as you guys can see. So there's a shadow, there's the text itself, and then there is the, like, I guess it's like protrusion. It kind of looks 3D with a shadow. I don't know. I've noticed that makes it pop more, and you're kind of like drawn to it in a way. And then again, just to repeat all the steps, our background is blurred. Me is in focus. All of these layers work together to create this. Now that we have everything the way that we want it, and we want it to be flattened out, we can either just save it as a JPG. We can do Control Shift F to flatten, or we can come up to image and then click flatten. And basically what that does is it takes all your layers and it smushes it down into one singular photo. And guys, I think we have ourselves a thumbnail. So again, for YouTube, you're going to want it to be 1920 by 1080, and then you're going to want to save it as a JPEG, a .jpg. So you can do File, Save As, pick where you want it saved. I'm going to have it under this folder here. And then I'm going to title it How to Make a Thumbnail, and then Thumbnail, because this is my thumbnail for that. Save the type as .jpg right here, and then save. Okay, and we now have a completed thumbnail. Alright, my Dorklings, that is how I make my thumbnails and how you too can make your own thumbnails for your YouTube videos. Make sure you guys smash, like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff down below, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!